Support for this program comes from Jazz on the Tube, the Internet's largest collection of free streamable classic jazz videos. From Miles Davis to Louis Armstrong, from Thelonious Monk to Duke Ellington. You'll find it all on jazzonthetube.com. Start your free subscription today.
Hi, and welcome to Jazz Talk, a Jazz on the Tube podcast. My name is Ken McCarthy, and this is where we talk with people who are doing important work that supports and illuminates the music we love. The writers, the scholars, the educators, the filmmakers, the producers, and more.
Today we have a really interesting guest with a very important program, and I'm looking forward to learning more about it, and all of us learning more about it. Welcome to Alina Bloomgarden.
Thank you so much, Ken.
And Alina is the founder of a group called Music on the Inside, and this is something that we were involved with when we were down in New Orleans, which is bringing music to incarcerated people. And what a wonderful thing to do. And just as a historical side note, it's part of jazz history that some of our very greatest musicians spent time, sometimes extended time, incarcerated. So there is a connection, long historic connection between jazz and people who are imprisoned. So Alina, I assume you're, like all of us, a big jazz fan?
Yes, I have quite some roots in jazz. I don't know whether you want to start with my original roots.
Oh, I'd love to hear. I'd love to hear them.
So really, I came to jazz late, but it was so rich to learn about jazz and get so inspired at Barry Harris's Jazz Cultural Theater. It used to be on like 28th and 8th Avenue, and I used to go there from my work, and I would come in and feel this tremendous energy, and it would just shift my energy, and it felt very healing to me, and I felt the power of this music, the way people were playing together, listening to each other, supporting each other, and it was very transformative to me. And I wasn't yet working at Lincoln Center, but I ended up working at Lincoln Center and was there for 23 years. And they were looking for new programming ideas in Alice Tully Hall, which was dark at the time. And having heard Barry Harris not only play, but sort of proselytize, that he would talk about if someone doesn't do something, this music's going to die out. I'm certainly not thinking I'm doing something. But I proposed to Lincoln Center that jazz had a rightful place there. And 3 proposals later, 4 years later, I actually launched classical jazz at Lincoln Center and brought Wynton Marsalis on and produced the first 4 years of what became jazz at Lincoln Center. So that was a very rich experience for me.
I would say, could I don't mean to interrupt, but yeah. Could you talk a little bit, now Barry's still around, still teaching, can you talk a little bit more in detail about that particular project? Because I think it's, since you participated in it as a audience member, there are a lot of people that didn't and might be interested to know what Barry had going then. Okay,
it was beautiful. You'd walk in there. One thing that was so noticeable was that blacks and whites were together. There would be soul food cooking in the back. We started going to celebrating all of our events in our lives, our birthdays. We would go to Barry's on the weekends. He would put together a jam session of really good players. And the thing that really moved me was these classes. Even to this day, he would teach 3 different classes. I think it was on a Tuesday night. Horn players, piano, and vocal. And I watched him one after another take, I remember it was, you go to my head. And he would take each person and take away all their affectation and just have them sing in such a real way. And I would personally just feel that. And it was like something I've been wanting to hear all my life, that sort of honesty in human interaction. Mm-hmm. It was very powerful for me, just watching him coach the singers. And so it really impressed me very deeply in ways that I didn't even realize until I heard that Lincoln Center was looking for new programming ideas. I thought Lincoln Center should have jazz. Jazz is an American art form.
Wow.
Lincoln Center could make a difference in how it's perceived in its country of origin. It's so much more respected in Europe. And
what an amazing history! I remember when Lincoln Center started offering jazz, and it was such a thrill that they were picking it up. And so you were the person who sparked that.
Yeah.
What years were that roughly? Do you recall? I'm just trying to put it.
I do recall.
Yeah.
I started writing proposals from 1983, and we finally launched in 1987. That was the first year of Jazz Lincoln Center. And I worked with Winton, I worked with Stanley Crouch, I worked with Darth and Kirk and WVGO. The first thing I did was call WVGO because I didn't have a Rolodex. So I tagged after Darth and Kirk. One of our funny stories we always talk about, the first season we just did 3 concerts. A concert on Bird and a concert on Monk, and we started with Ladies First. And for Monk, we wanted to get Carmen McRae. Now, Carmen McRae was notoriously known to be sort of not that easy to approach, but I was naive enough that I could just say, "Hello, Carmen, this is Alina." We always laugh about that. And she came, and we presented her in the celebration of Monk. We also presented Steer, which, which was a wonderful organization. That was probably the last concert of that group that was celebrating Monk's music. So it was been amazing.
The group Sphere.
Yeah.
As for the middle name of Thelonious Monk. Wow.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. What in terms of getting institutional support, jazz has come such a long way. Because I remember the late 70s and the early 80s, and it was feasible that jazz could have just fallen off a cliff and not recovered.
That's what Barry was sort of saying,
And of course, for people that don't know Barry Harris, one of the great educators of all time in any field.
And pianist.
And of course, and a great musician as well. And out of Detroit. And by the way, I did a recent interview with I think it's Mark Stryker, I hope I have his name right, and he wrote a book on the jazz history of Detroit, which I was glad to see won a major award recently, and it's well deserved. Anyway, Barry played the same role in Detroit where he grew up. He was just an absolutely essential educator. And there's just no calculating the various ripples and positive effects he's had both in Detroit and in New York City. I mean, it's just been decades.
Absolutely. And I always acknowledge that. He really inspired that. And he always says, "This is Alina Bloomgarden. She and I started Jazz at Lincoln Center." He always says that. But also Sheila Jordan. We've worked with Sheila Jordan. She also came out of that Detroit scene.
Yeah.
Well,
that could be a whole interview unto itself. How that, but it's good to know that backstory. So let's talk about your current project, Music on the Inside.
All right, I can give you a little bit of a seed to that also. So what led to Music on the Inside was I also produced a series at Lincoln Center called Reel to Reel, where we combined film and live programming together for families. And I did a show on Louis Armstrong with Winton and Wycliffe Gordon and Dan Levinson, and we got all these old clips about Pops. It was very inspiring. So we took that on the road, and they ended up doing what we call the Saxmoration with David Oswald was a big part of that original program, and then he came up to Vermont with us for this Saxmoration, where we did curriculum for the high school English students, and we did programs for the adults and the students, and the whole town. We celebrated Louis Armstrong. And in the process of creating the curriculum and doing my own learning, really, maybe I knew it before, but to really understand that Louis Armstrong was arrested when he was 11 years old, sent to the Colored Waves Home for Boys, where there was a boys' band, and it changed his life. Because it was the first time he had real education in terms of music. And I thought, what are we doing today for incarcerated youth and adults?
Right.
And I just felt that the jazz community would want to help the population, and it's certainly been true. So this was in 2015. established ourselves as a nonprofit organization in January of 2016, and we've now worked in Rikers Island and the state prisons, bringing music education, and it's been transformative for all of us as well as the people that we've worked with. And is that going too fast?
No, not at all. No, not at all.
All right. And then when we couldn't get in the prisons with the COVID crisis, we actually moved very quickly to presenting music while we're inside concerts. And each concert features someone who's been impacted by incarceration, as well as many wonderful top musicians. And we're now going into, I think it's our 16th concert tonight. Every Sunday at 6, we present a number of artists, all from their homes to ours, and always someone that we work with. But now we're finding people all over the country. See, one thing about this crisis, it's opening possibilities and new ideas, as well as challenging all of us.
Sure.
So we're able to work with, we're finding some really developed musicians who serve time all over the country, and they can be paired up one by one with top musicians who also can be anywhere. So there's opportunities right now that are very exciting.
So when you say connecting musicians, while they're in prison, they're able to connect online?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, so now we're working a lot with people in reentry.
In reentry, got it.
Yes.
So it's a two-pronged effort. On the one hand, bringing music and music education, and all the important things that come with that to people who are incarcerated, and then the other aspect of your work is helping people who are out and re-entering society, and typically, there is not much help, if any, for people that are coming out of prison.
Exactly, and the challenges are so steep. I mean, come out of now you have a record. How are you going to get a job? How are you going to get work? How are you going to get housing? You're lucky if you have family. If you don't, I see with the people, we already were giving a guitar and ongoing lessons on Zoom to some of our more engaged students before all this happened. And I see in working with these lovely people who are really trying so hard how really difficult it is to just get a stable life and to even keep appointments. Criminal justice could be very constructive. Instead, it's very often, it just goes against someone's life. It doesn't really help. So people aren't able to just keep their own schedules. They haven't been given the chance to really have agency over their own lives. And we're happy to support them. And we feel that, yes, as everyone's facing all the challenges of reentry, they need something for their spirit, to feel connected and to build new communities and have new influences. So it's been very gratifying for us and for the people we're working with. They really are so appreciative. That's the part I had never had any experience with criminal justice or prison, and I didn't know what I would really meet inside, and we had this idea these were going to be very tough people. So with music, you play one part on the guitar, and everyone's in the same room together, and there's just a sense of letting down your guard and just being human beings. And we get letters like, "Oh, this has changed my life," and we think it takes so little through music. Music is amazing.
Absolutely,
as you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a great healing power. The older I get, the more I'm of the belief that human beings are essentially singing and dancing beings. That's what and any instrument is singing. Even when you're playing a guitar, there's really the feeling of singing, even if it's coming through your hands. That's what makes us so unique, and it's inbred. You see it in a small child. They're immediately starting to sing, immediately starting to dance. So I'm going to just take a step back. I want to talk about the program helping people that are out. How did this idea come to be? Who put it? Was it your idea? Did somebody bring it to you? What sparked it?
What sparked the idea of working with people who are out?
Or no, what? Just the whole
Music on the
program.
Inside?
Yeah.
Actually, Louis Armstrong. Louis Armstrong.
Oh, so literally, that was the.
Literally.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I overlooked that.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought it was maybe a personal connection, but yeah, I mean, it's one of the things that I often meditate on. Which is that 100+ years ago, this young boy found himself incarcerated, and he was given an education that served him the rest of his life. What are we doing for people? You know, it's 100 years later. Supposedly, we're more developed, we're more affluent. And boy, it couldn't have been poorer than New Orleans at the turn of the century. And yet they had the resources to do something human. Now, of course, it happened because of great human beings that made it happen. You know, it wasn't a government program.
Exactly.
It was the human beings that said we have to do something for these children. Okay, so
you're saying it so well. You're saying it so well, Ken, because I mean, there it was, the Jim Crow South, tremendous poverty, tremendous. I mean, he grew up in the absolute abject poverty, Louis Armstrong.
Yeah.
And there they were, and they devoted themselves to giving these kids music in this place. I mean, that alone showed such humanity and understanding. They also trained them in other things. They trained them in gardening and other kinds of skills.
Sure.
And I thought, and it's exactly the question I asked that you just said. What are we doing today? And of course, I've learned a lot more about what we do and don't do today. But it's amazing how little is done in terms of, I would say, almost, let's say, the soul, the thing that gives you the courage to continue to go on against so many challenges. You know, not everyone's going to be Louis Armstrong, but to have music in your life while you're dealing with so many other challenges can really make a big difference.
Oh, sure. Or any positive thing like gardening, like, you know, there are many programs, not many, but there are some programs where incarcerated people are working in greenhouses and working with plants. And I think, you know, there's nothing for the soul in the criminal justice system. It's not part of the calculation unless people bring it deliberately to it. Let's talk about the program, and I'm guessing that with the pandemic, the ability to access the prisons is out the window for the time being. That must be heartbreaking for all involved.
But I kind of feel really good about the fact that we were able to maneuver so quickly. We immediately started presenting music while we're inside concerts. And that's when we really opened the field in terms of people in reentry, because now we're reaching and finding people that are not only the students that we taught, but people that are very developed musicians whose level of musicianship warrants real pedagogy. And so we have found some amazingly talented people. And in fact, tonight, John Ricciardi, he was one of our students, and he's an amazingly talented guitarist who's going to play electric guitar tonight. And then we met this woman. What I did, as I've been reaching out to find other people to feature in our programs, I reached out to the other organizations that I've learned about and connected with over these 5 years. So the Fortune Society has recommended some people to us, an organization called Shining Light Ministries that works in Pennsylvania. They connected us with Naomi Blount. Naomi was serving life without parole, was in prison for 36 years, and kept herself and all the women in her, wherever she was, really engaged through music. We're asking her to teach for us. I mean, she's a wonderful songwriter and pianist. So, and then we're working with the Osborne Association, so other organizations that we've already worked with. And now the Brooklyn DA, Eric Gonzalez, wonderful, and Chris Owens, who works with him, is in charge of reentry. And they're really excited to work with us, and they have 1,000 people in reentry. Well, not everyone's going to be in a music program.
Sure.
But as those people that really identify with music come forward, we want to be able to support them. And what we're saying about now, with Zoom, it's a little more challenging to do classes, but we can do them. Richard Miller, who's our wonderful guitarist, you're going to hear him tonight. He's been one of our partners, along with Antoinette Montague. They both have been teaching for us in the prisons, so they work with on these concerts and help so much. And I forgot what I was just going to say. But anyway,
So there's a weekly concert every Sunday at 6 p.m. and those feature people that are in the program.
Featured along with well-known artists.
Beautiful.
And Emmett Cohen and Dan Levensold is going to be next week, and Ron Carter is going to be on.
Oh, wow.
I know, a lot of really, it's when I thought from the beginning that the jazz community would really want to help this population, and all these years I've been so validated by that. Here's what happened with Winton. I went to Joe Templey's retirement party. That was just before I started this program, and Winton said, "Give us an idea, Alina. We need your help." And I said, "I have an idea right now. You want to hear it?" I said, "I want to bring music into prisons inspired by Louis Armstrong." He said, "That's what I want to do. Call me Monday." And he came over Tuesday to my house, and we talked about it. And he would like to, and this is still ahead of us, he would like to bring the Jazz Lincoln Center Orchestra into every prison in New York State. So it's just a matter of building the support for these kind of programs. But what's great, maybe not great, but sad and great right now, is that the country is awake to these issues in a way that hasn't been true before. So it's there's a lot of potential right now to really do much more than we have done. And I do feel, from my own experience, and I can't say I can validate that, but I feel that even before this, that there is an openness to criminal justice reform, and that people want to bring more humanity into it. And the way we've been wasting lives and dismissing lives is just criminal.
Yeah. I mean, people make mistakes, and then there's a whole spectrum of crimes too. I mean, a lot of people are in jail on drug crimes.
Right.
And do we really need to destroy a human being's life for that?
Right.
We don't need to destroy anybody's life, but when you see some of the cases, you can hardly believe your eyes.
Yeah.
Now, just to
finish one thing about.
Yeah.
So Winton is our artistic advisor. So he was so generous giving his name, and that's been really great to really position us in terms of understanding that there's real support behind what we're doing
in the jazz community.
Yes.
Now, one of the challenges, and it sounds like you are a better than average producer. One of the challenges you must also have had in getting this going was getting into the prisons. It's not so easy.
Absolutely, not so easy.
Can you tell? Can you tell a little bit about that? I mean, just the.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, it must be a really onerous process.
Let me just go backwards a little bit and then go forward on that.
Sure.
In the year before I sort of initiated this program, I was just going out, meeting people, learning, and I met a woman who worked at Rikers Island and told her about our program, and so we started doing that was really where we initiated our programming, and we would go to Rikers Island. Everything is still on faxes and paper. So you get to the gate, you have to get all kinds of authority. You have to really get yourself vetted. You have to do your fingerprinting and all kinds of things to even be authorized to go in. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes you'd wait by the gate and the fax didn't go through and you just wouldn't even get in. So here you have your class waiting for you. So sometimes I felt like the system wants to stay backwards because more people are employed. I don't want to say that in a bad way because I think people are working very hard inside, but the systems aren't really even technologically up to date so that you can really move things quickly. And, there's a lot to be done. And I do think that there's good wisdom like Annucci, Anthony Annucci is the head of criminal justice for the state. And he knows us, and he really does want to see humanity come into the system. But moving a system like this, my image is like an old fortress. It doesn't move lightly. It doesn't move easily. Yeah. And
then there's logistic issues. I have a friend, and I'm trying to draw a blank on her name, but she did a documentary which involved a concert performed in what's that prison in San Francisco Bay that's so famous?
I can't think of names anymore.
I'm drawing a blank too.
Alcatraz.
Not Alcatraz. This is an active prison. Oh my goodness! It's a hot day here.
Exactly.
But anyway, she said the logistics of getting in and getting this stuff out. It was, well, she's a filmmaker, so she's used to many, many moving pieces and a tremendous amount of organization. But it was daunting, she said.
Yeah.
So currently, no programs in the institutions right now, and so the focus is on helping people that are out. And so you're pairing master teachers and master educators with musicians who are re-entering society.
Yes, exactly. And I feel like these one-by-one mentorship relationships are really exciting, and I feel very, very promising. And when you have somebody who's a new influence in your life and really cares about you. And what I find, like Richard Miller, I was talking about Richard, he already teaches some of our students and helps them with resumes and job searches. It's not just about music. It becomes a person in your life and a new influence. And I think that's what the human connection is so important.
It's essential. It's essential, and it's possible, given the fractured nature of our society, that there are a lot of people that don't have family and don't have wholesome friends, and what are they supposed to do? So this is amazing. This is amazing. Now, and you're now are the connections via the internet? Is that how they connect?
Yeah, we do it all through Zoom right now.
Great.
And that's what's amazing. Yeah.
So anybody anywhere can reach anybody anywhere else.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. I know. That's what this has opened up for us. Possibilities we wouldn't have seen before. I know.
What a wonderful thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So through you, maybe we can. We're reaching out, and we'd love to hear about more people that are musically inclined that we could give support to, because this is really a moment for us in terms of building our infrastructure to support the potential to serve many more people.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, great. I want to encourage everybody. It's Music on the Inside.
.org.
So everybody, it's musicонtheinside.org. And when you go there, you'll be able to, I'm sure you'll find the schedule of Sunday concerts, which everybody should take advantage of. I bet they're great.
Thank you.
And if somebody is a musician or knows somebody in this situation, where they've been in prison and now they're out and they're trying to find their equilibrium and find their way through the world, they can contact you too.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, there's a contact tab on our website. Just give us your information and we'll be in contact with you. Exactly.
Great. And I also I assume that you're always raising funds.
Yes.
Yeah. And so we have a very generous subscriber base, and it goes without saying that I wholeheartedly endorse this. And what a great way to help human beings and help the music and just help our society.
Thank you so much. We put 2 links every concert on the chat side of the Zoom. There's possibility to contribute to the participating artists. There's a pool that all the artists who are participating in the concert share equally in, and then there's a tab to support Music on the Inside as well in our programs.
Oh, this is great. This is great. We're in this unusual time, and we're not able to go to clubs or concerts or festivals or cruises or anything. So what I've been encouraging my Jazz on the Tube fans is treat these virtual events just like you would treat a club day. You can't walk into a club and sit down and not pay the cover. You usually have to buy, you usually have to buy drinks, and and if you go to a festival, those aren't free, and for people that have been on cruises, those are really not free. So this is the time when we need to think about paying for music in a different way, and in a way, it's kind of great because we're cutting out the middlemen, right? We're sending money directly to the musicians. So. I want to really...
Antoinette Montague, who's our wonderful host on the Music While We're Inside concerts, always says the same thing. Remember, you don't have to park, you don't have to pay for parking, you don't have to pay for... Yeah, exactly what you just said. So thank you for that.
Oh, no, it's really important. And we have subscribers who help support our efforts. They help us pay the technical bills. And I've got Scott Yanoff writing for us, and so we pay Scott, and but we're doing fine. We're doing fine. And what I have said to people is, if you have a choice to make, you can't help everybody. I would say at this time, during this period, you should find direct ways to assist musicians. That's the absolute best thing you can be doing with your money right now. Absolutely. So this is I love this program, because if somebody contributes to it, they're putting money in the pool for all the musicians who are participating. Right. And these musicians are helping fellow human beings and helping advance the music. Now, I know Antoinette. Of course, I met her at a fundraiser. We were involved in a pretty big concert for Puerto Rico at the Poussin Rouge, which used to be the famous jazz at. Oh, now I'm drawing a blank on that. Jazz at the Gate. Anyway, I met her. What a wonderful person. What a great singer, and just what a wonderful person too.
A wonderful heart and soul too, definitely.
Yeah. So everybody, it's musicontheinside.org. So many things going on. You can go to a show, which you should do, and of course, if you go to a show, you should pay. And if you're really inspired, which I have a feeling you're going to be, there's a way you can you support the organization directly, and or throw some money in for the musicians. Remember, our musicians, our beloved musicians, have taken a terrible hit.
Absolutely.
I was very involved in the rebuilding efforts in New Orleans, and musicians could leave town and get gigs. They could go to New York, they could go to Houston, they could go to New York City, they could go to Europe.
We had Rowan Riley was in our show a few weeks ago.
Oh, really?
Delphio Marsalis. Are you in New Orleans yourself?
No, I spent every winter down there from 2005 till 2011. I was there for like 3 months at a time. I can't take the heat. I can't take the heat, but
no, the summer's a killer.
But
I know.
I mean, I've seen grown men who spent their whole lives in New Orleans. They're multi-generational New Orleanians, and even they weep when August rolls around. I don't know how people do it, but I can't personally do it. But from December through March, it's blissful down there, and so I was down there, and so I got to know a lot of the guys and see how they were see how they were coping.
Michael White, that's an old friend of mine.
Oh,
Michael White. We celebrated him when we celebrated New Orleans music with Danny Barker way back.
Oh yeah.
When I jazz, classical jazz. I want to reach out to Michael and see if he'd be in our Music While We're Inside concerts. I have to say hello to him.
Oh, I bet he would.
I know. I love New Orleans.
I
know he would.
One of the things that we do is that, as soon as this happened, which was back in mid-March, we changed all our programming. Our programming for all the 12 years or however long we've been around has always been focused on finding classic jazz videos, Louis Armstrong or some of the rare Charlie Parker footage, or Eric Dolphy or Charles Mingus, or and focusing on that. And that's been a great base for fans, of course, love it. But we discovered that music educators and music students love it, because they can see, well, what did Thelonious Monk look like, and how did he play? Rather than just hearing out a record. But we've changed our orientation, and now we're focusing largely on streamed concerts. So every day we promote a different streamed concert, so that people can see and support what's going on.
Do you still have that footage? That you gathered? Because one of the things I want to do when we get back in the prisons, I want to also help bring some awareness of the history that everyone is part of. And,
well, Jazz on the Tube. We've got a search engine and a directory, and you're wondering what Duke Ellington looked like. You're wondering what Louis Armstrong looked like throughout his career. We've got dozens of films of him. It's funny when this first my. You probably remember that. Well, maybe not, because you're a relatively new jazz fan, though you're not that new, really.
Right.
But remember when there was no way to see jazz on film unless you went to a festival, and there was a wonderful man, and I'm going to draw a blank on another person's name today, but he used to go festival to festival, and he had a wonderful film collection, of the classics, and you could see what Duke Ellington looked like, and you could see what Charlie Parker looked like when they were playing.
Well, you see, when I did that series called Reel to Reel at Lincoln Center, we did a show about Ellington with Mercedes Ellington, and we called it Storytellington. And we did all kinds of clips of Duke Ellington interspersed with John Hendricks performed in that, and so I love the use of film and going back and forth between live performance. It was probably my favorite gig of my life.
How wonderful! We should revive that, because that is really a great way to introduce the music to people. But for the participants in your program, they should all know about Jazz on the Tube. In our video library, I think we're up to 2,500 videos.
Wow.
I mean, it's a lot, and we discover new stuff all the time. We just discovered, amazingly enough, and that's the amazing thing about this, is that I thought when I started this that we would eventually run out of, that we would just find the last film and there would be no more.
Right.
We keep finding stuff all the time, and the recent thing we discovered was Steve Allen back in '64 had the Miles Davis, it was a sextet or quintet, with Herbie Hancock, with Tony Williams, when these guys were young. I mean, it was their first couple of months they were even in business as a band, and we just found that. So that's the kind of stuff we do. But I guess what I wanted to say was, I remember when it was so hard to see jazz in filmed images, that I remember taking a trip to the Museum of Broadcasting, and for the first time in my life, ever seeing Lester Young and Billie Holiday on film, and it just blew my. I'll never forget the goosebumps. Where I was covered in them, seeing them. It's a big thing. It's a big thing.
What a pleasure to meet you. I just want to say thank you, Ken.
Oh, likewise, Alina. And so everybody, we're talking about musicонtheinside.org, the Sunday program at 6 p.m. every Sunday, and then this wonderful program of helping our fellow human beings and spreading the jazz gospel, which is such a healing medium.
Yes.
So that's jazzontheinside.org. Thank you, Alina.
Music on the Inside.
I'm sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry.
No.
It's Music on the Inside.
Okay.
Musicontheinside.org.
That's all right.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Pleasure to meet you.
You too.
We hope you enjoyed the podcast. If you did, please share it. That's how we grow. And remember to subscribe to JazzOnTheTube.com, the Internet's largest collection of free, streamable, classic jazz videos.